I'm Dave the Airplane Guy, also known as Stukadave, and today we're going to talk about the SIG Cub. Excellent kit. Way back in the Cenozoic era when dinosaurs ruled the Earth, I built my first model airplane that flew. Mind you, this was far from the first model airplane I built, but it was the first one that flew, and it was a SIG Cub. That has been in production for all these years. It's still popular. It's called an ROG type. ROG stands for Rise Off Ground because this kind of plane will take off. You're going to need some plastic or wax paper or something to cover the plan. You're going to lay the plan out. You're going to put this over it so the glue doesn't stick to it. I like to use super glue, and then I use accelerator kicker in this little glue bottle to make the glue cure. I use slow glue and I kick it with that. When I was a kid, you had to pin them all down and put on this horrible orange ambroid glue and then wait overnight and come back in the morning to see if all the sticks were where you left them or if they'd sprung loose during the night and dried in funny places. It was very frustrating. And when this super glue came out, it was like the sun rising for me, because now I can build as fast as I want. I don't have to wait around. It's great. All right, in addition to that, I use some pins to hold things down. You'll need some sort of a cutting tool. I'm really old school and I use single-edged razor blades. X-Acto knives, hobby knives work, various things, but you're going to need something to cut the balsa sticks with. Some kind of little wire bending pliers that can also cut the wire. Just any kind of sandpaper will probably do. You're not going to be doing a lot of sanding on this project. Glue stick, and you're going to need some kind of an art spray or finish. Krylon makes like 6 different products very similar to this and other brands, and before you know it, we'll have this bird in the air. We're not going to do a stick-by-stick thing. The instructions are plenty clear on how to build the plane. Just look that I'm using pins and those little weights to hold things down while the glue cures. It's only for a moment. Then the nose assembly gets wrapped with silk thread and glued. That's an old school way to make it very strong. Rough up the aluminum tube a little bit with sandpaper so the glue can stick. When you get all the frame pieces done, you don't have to tape them all together to look like an airplane. I just did that for the video. When you're ready, just cover them with tissue. Okay, here we have the bones of our SIG Cub. The next thing we do is we have to cover it with tissue. I glue stick this up all the way around. And then stick it on there. Now, the sticks are square. In a perfect world, you want to round them on the front to make them more aerodynamic. The fact is, it doesn't make that much difference on a plane like this. I'm not going to knock myself out sanding these surfaces. I don't think the air cares that much, actually. Ooh, more time lapse. Makes it seem like I build fast. But actually, it took about 3 hours start to finish. If this is your very first stick and tissue model, it might take you a little longer than that. But you know, it's kind of fun to do an old school one like this with the aluminum tube with silk thread tying it in there. Very, very old fashioned, and a bead, a real bead, act as a thrust bearing. That's kind of cool. That's the olden days. And you talk about autonomous drones, and here we have a real autonomous drone. This airplane is going to fly all by itself, and there's no control over it. It's going to choose its own path, fly until the power's exhausted, and then glide down and land. That is an autonomous drone, if you ask me. I'm trimming this tissue off with a razor blade, but a piece of sandpaper rubbed on the edge will clean it off in a surprisingly nice way, too. Can you see how that's cutting through and showing the balsa on the end? It's cutting through the tissue. And now, friends, a word about water shrinking. On a stick and tissue airplane, often you will spray it with water when you're done covering. The tissue shrinks up beautiful and tight, and then you put your finish on. Well, with a framework this light and open, it sometimes ends up making all the surfaces look like potato chips.
So to avoid potato chips, I'm not water shrinking this model. I'm just putting my art spray coating directly on it. You try it too.
The framing up on a model usually goes pretty fast. And the covering, depending on the kind of model, can go fast, or maybe it's a little slower. But the fiddly bits, they call them the fiddly bits, all the little extra pieces and things seem to take a lot of time. Getting these wire pieces formed and on here, and getting the prop and all assembled, and now I gotta glue the rudder to the stabilizer. A little bit of my accelerator, and then as it dries I eyeball it to make sure it's straight up and down, because you want it straight up and down. That's not quite as much dihedral as I want. I think I want a little more. That looks pretty good, huh? Okay.
I'm not using those little dihedral pieces exactly the way the plan said. Hey, it's your plane. You're the boss. Do what you want.
Here's another wonderful chance to screw up. Here's my center section piece, and it's going to go in here. And if I'm not careful, you know, the wings will be crooked on the plane. And, oh, we don't want that. Okay. Can you see how that's crooked? So I got to fix that as I glue it. If I don't fix that, everything will be a disaster. I kind of specialize in disasters, so it wouldn't be anything new. So here goes my glue along the top. Here goes my glue along the bottom. Once that accelerator cures, that's it, baby. That's not too bad, not too bad. Pretty good, right? Pretty straight. That's not bad. Heck, maybe you'll even fly.
People say, how do you have the patience to do that? This didn't take patience. This was fun all the way through.
Now they show a couple of pins on there and then a rubber band around the bottom.
Instead of pins, I used little pieces of a toothpick. That'll make the plane harder to pick up on radar.
And that lets you slide it back and forth for balance. And there we have a SIG Cub for the Sky Battle Secret Sky Squadron contest, the One Design Postal contest, which you can enter. Let's give her a quick little glide and see what she does. Murray, catch the airplane for us, buddy. Not bad. And I think it's ready to take it out to the flying field and see how it flies.